Hello everyone, Sharpeter43 once again bringing you all a draft analysis for a brand new league called the PMU. It stands for Pokémon Masters United, and this league is currently in its 7th season, and I actually decided to join for this season. For a very special reason, one that you'll find out once you start watching the battles, but yeah, just know that I actually am kind of excited for this league. But yeah, so this is going to be the draft analysis for this league. I actually wasn't going to do one of these just because I really didn't feel like I needed to, honestly. But somebody actually provided me with some graphics to use for the draft analysis, so I figured, yeah, okay, fine, then we'll do it. I usually don't like to do it, and the reason for it is because I'm usually very, very terrible at explaining things. And sometimes I pause for long periods of time, and it's kind of like, you're just watching me, like, think too much, honestly, and not explaining. And when I do explain, I don't explain it very properly, or sometimes I sound way too vague. That's why I'm usually terrible at these things. And this was a league where it wasn't even it wasn't even required, honestly. Like, this league actually doesn't require you to provide draft analysis, so this would have been a good time to basically ignore the draft analysis. But again, somebody just gave me graphics to use for the draft analysis, so I figure why not take advantage, honestly. So yeah, speaking of optional stuff, this league, another good thing about this league is actually that we actually are not scheduling battles here. Like, how do I put it? We don't have to, like, there's no scheduling when to upload these battles. This league isn't even upload required to begin with, honestly. Like, you don't have to upload your battles. It's only optional, which is actually kind of cool that you don't have to upload, honestly. It would be cool, but I mean, the cool thing about it not being like upload required is that we can actually upload these battles at our pace, which is really, really useful considering right now I'm actually kind of busy. But yeah, so anyways, this is gonna be the draft analysis. Like I said, we're gonna get into it, and I'm gonna try my best to go over the mons that I picked for the season, and without wasting too much time, obviously. But yeah, so it should be noted that I was actually the 3rd pick in this draft. Like, the draft order was actually that I'd be 3rd in picking, which is actually really, really decent. It's not the best, but it's definitely better than anything else, like than being in the middle or maybe even at the very, very end. The reason for that is just because now I have potential to pick some really, really good mons early in the draft before other people start taking it, obviously. So yeah, so with that said, what did I pick for my first pick? Well, my first pick is actually going to be a mon that I've actually never used, but I've actually seen it put quite a lot of work, at least in Smogon battles. I don't know how much or how it will do in draft format, but that's kind of what we're looking forward to is finding out right now. But our first pick is actually going to be Garchomp. Garchomp's tier 1, obviously, because it's a really, really good mon. Has a lot of coverage, has a lot of power, can set up rocks, has a very useful ability in Rough Skin, which allows physical attackers to get punished for their contact moves. And I think it can run various sets. It can either be bulky, it can be a mixed attacker, it can be a full-fledged physical attacker, full-fledged special attacker. It can run many, many sets, honestly, and can do all kinds of things depending on what your goal is with Garchomp. So that's why I picked Garchomp, because Garchomp is it's a pretty useful mon. It does have a lot of weaknesses, but it has coverage for the weaknesses, obviously. That if it sets up, it's not even gonna matter as long as it's not faster than Garchomp. But yeah, so that's why I picked Garchomp. Now, my second pick for the second round is in fact gonna be a tier 2 pick, and it's another mon that I've actually never drafted. Actually, that's a lie. I actually have drafted this mon. Not in a draft league, but in a draft tournament. I actually used it in the March Madness tournament that I actually did not too long ago. And it actually put in quite an amount of work, despite the predictable moveset that it typically runs. But I want to see how it works here in this league, honestly. So we're going to find out. But anyways, before anything, my second pick is actually going to be Tangrowth. Tangrowth is a mon that, obviously, it's a really, really good physical wall. Not so much on the special side though, but can be if you run like enough investments on it, obviously. It can actually be pretty effective. But on top of that, it also has it has a very, very useful ability in Regenerator. It's a pure grass type, which means it's gonna have a lot of weaknesses. It's weak to ice, it's weak to poison, weak to bug, weak to flying, weak to fire. A lot of common types, actually. But I'm gonna try to see if I can provide like type coverages for Tangrowth later on in the draft. But yeah, the reason why I picked Tangrowth was because, yeah, it has a useful ability in Regenerator, has good physical defense, has useful utility moves such as knockoff to knock off items, sleep powder to put mons to sleep, leech seed to, I guess pressure opponents to kind of like switch out so they don't just stay around taking leech seeds and whatnot and all that good stuff. And it can also run like a bunch of coverage. Like it can run break, it can run earthquake, it can run hidden power, whatever it wants. It has coverage for a lot of its weaknesses anyway. So while it does have a lot of weaknesses, it does have a lot of coverage as well, and not to mention utility, which is why I picked Tangrowth. I'll admit that pairing it with Garchomp, it does have a significant ice type weakness, but again, we're trying to see if we can actually you know, amend that when or improve on it with the later picks in this draft. So yeah, but that's Tangrowth for you. Now my third pick is actually going to be Canine, tier 3. This mon was actually a mon that I decided to pick as soon as I picked Garchomp and Tangrowth, because this is a mon that actually gets sniped pretty dang quickly, or gets picked very early as well, because it's pretty good as well. It kind of has a similar role to that of Garchomp in the sense that it can actually run various sets, can run physically offensive sets or defensive sets. Like it can run offensive and defensive sets, obviously, because Arcanine does have reliable recovery. It can face, has very useful abilities in Intimidate, Justified, and Flash Fire, depending on the roles. It can be kind of unpredictable, and it has a fair share of coverage. And if you run it offensive, it also has a pretty useful priority move, which is really good. I think I mentioned that it has reliable recovery, right? Yeah, I think I did. So yeah, and it also has Will-O-Wisp, so if I want to cripple any physical attackers, there's that as well, as long as they don't have guts and whatnot. So yeah, that's why I picked Arcanine, because Arcanine's pretty it's pretty good actually. I've actually wanted to use this mon for a while now. I actually haven't used this mon in draft format since the Talent Squad League, and I think in the Talent Squad League it actually did me a lot of good. So I want to see if I can actually make it work in this league actually. So yeah, but here's my fourth pick now. My fourth pick is actually going to be Gardevoir. Now the reason why I picked Gardevoir was actually because I wanted to pick Sylveon as my fairy type, but unfortunately Sylveon got taken in round 2, which was like, what the hell? I thought people didn't like Sylveon. I thought people said Sylveon was booty cheeks. I was thinking that's why I didn't pick Sylveon in round 2, because I thought no one's gonna pick Sylveon right now, honestly, but they did. So I was like, wow, really? So I was left with Gardevoir because I think mons like Mega Altaria and I think Mega Gardevoir was also taken. So I was thinking, okay, let's just get Gardevoir then. Gardevoir can still be pretty useful. It can also trace, so if I want to trace any funny moves like Pixelate as well, I can practically have a Mega Gardevoir, a mini Mega Gardevoir there with a trace Pixelate ability or something like that. I don't know, something like that. I don't know, but yeah, Gardevoir is also, it's pretty decent. Like it's not terrible. I think the only problem with Gardevoir is that it's relatively slow in the. It has average speed, is what I want to say. It's not really fast, so a lot of things can outspeed it. And since this thing is physically frail, it can kind of go down very easily. But it's a fairy type, which means dragon types can't just spam dragon moves and all that good stuff, because otherwise that would be kind of bad. Even for Tangrowth, that's a physical wall. But yeah, Gardevoir does have very good power, very decent special defense, that if you want to run funny assault vest sets, it can actually work, honestly. But yeah, it has a lot of coverage as well. It has a variety of sets that it can run. It can run Trick, it can run Will-O-Wisp, it can also run, I think the what's that one move called? Healing Wish, I think it was called. I don't remember. I could be wrong though, but it has a lot of tricky sets, honestly. And it does have coverage, like decent coverage against its weaknesses. So yeah, and again, I mentioned that it also has the trace ability, which is pretty useful for scouting abilities and maybe even using opponents' abilities to your advantage, basically. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. And it's a fairy type, so we need fairy types in my team, so that way I can be safe from dragon types, because I think dragon types are still kind of potent in this league, honestly, or in this generation for that matter. Yeah, because I mean, even with the introduction of fairy types, there's still gonna be a bunch of dragon types that can, you know, destroy fairy types because of the coverage moves that dragon types carry against fairy types and whatnot. But yeah, so with that said, that's gonna be Gardevoir for you. It's a pretty decent mon, and it's one that I've actually never used in draft format, so now it's gonna be a first time to use it. Hopefully it works out. But here's our fifth pick now. Our fifth pick is actually gonna be Mega Aerodactyl. Now the reason why I got Mega Aerodactyl was because kind of for a similar reason that I picked Gardevoir. I wanted to pick Mega Lopunny, like I wanted Lopunny as my Mega, but somebody already got that. In fact, that actually went out as in round 1, and the very first guy that had, or the one person that I got to pick, the number 1 pick, the guy who got to pick first, basically picked Mega Lopunny right out of the gate, so there was just no chance for me to get it. So yeah, I had to think of a Mega. Mega Diancie was also taken before, I think around round 3 or 4 was when Mega Diancie was taken. Mega Gardevoir as well, honestly. So I was being left with literally megas that I couldn't, and I didn't want to draft Mega Sharpedo just because I wasn't gonna have anything like sticky webs or anything on my draft as well, because I really didn't like the sticky webs users this time around, honestly. Just because, I don't know, it's because all the sticky webs users are very, very frail, like Galvantula, Ribombee, and all these other funny mons. They're just not that like, they're too frail, and trying to rely on setting up sticky webs on them makes me more or less predictable, honestly. So that's kind of something that I didn't like. But anyways, I'm digressing big time. Mega Aerodactyl, why did I pick it? Okay, I picked it because I had no other choice, honestly, and I did want a mon with a lot of speed, and this thing definitely has a lot of speed, even more so than Mega Lopunny. In fact, it's kind of a decent check to Mega Lopunny, since you don't want to since you are faster than it, basically. So that's actually really, really good. And Mega Aerodactyl does have a very useful ability in Tough Claws, have some good physical contact moves to get boosted from Tough Claws, has decent coverage, has Roost, has Defog, has Rocks, a lot of decent utility moves as well, and has a lot of power and decent respectable bulk, honestly, and more importantly, more speed. So yeah, that's why I picked Mega Aerodactyl. But other than that, I wasn't really looking forward to using Mega Aerodactyl, just because I don't really like the design of Mega Aerodactyl. But I mean, we do have to recognize that it has some really, really good stats, obviously. But yeah, so either way, next pick is going to be Lucario. Now this mon is actually a mon that I actually do like to use, and in fact I actually used this mon pretty effectively in Valhalla League. Actually, it actually did a lot of work. I'll admit though that it does kind of sometimes require a lot of setup if you wanted to do real work, but other than that, I think it does the job fairly nicely. This thing also has extreme speed as well, which is really, really good, but it also has bullet punch as priority. Like, I think the reason why I picked Lucario was because it's a mon that's fairly powerful and has various forms of priority. It even has the special attacking variant of priority moves in the form of Vacuum Wave, so that's something I can really, really take advantage of, especially since Lucario is a very efficient mixed attacker, because both of its offensive stats are pretty good. I think the only thing that it lacks is defensive potential as well as speed, because the speed is very, very average as well. It's about the same as Gardevoir's, only a little higher, obviously. But yeah, but other than that, Lucario does have immense coverage. Like, it has a lot of coverage moves it can run, and it can also set up, which is really, really important. And since it's slow, it can also set up speed if it wanted to, honestly, and then take advantage of whatever the heck it wants to go for, which is also very, very useful. So yeah, but with that said, that's Lucario for you. It's also a steel type, so I can probably resist some moves that I typically don't resist with. Although it is a shame that this thing is a fighting type though, because that certainly doesn't resist, is not resisted by fairy types, which I think is why most people actually draft steel types, obviously. But I like Lucario just because it has a lot of good moves that it can use against a lot of opponents. Obviously, it has a lot of coverage, is basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so that's pick 6. Pick 7 is actually going to be Cofagrigus, just because, okay, Cofagrigus is a mon that is relatively bulky, and I think a lot of my mons that I've picked so far are not necessarily the bulkiest or anything like that. I think the closest thing that's bulky here is actually, okay, I lied. Tangrowth is physically bulky, and Garchomp could very well be bulky as well, honestly. But Cofagrigus is a dedicated wall. It has very, very good special, very good physical defense, actually. Very decent special defense though, but it just has terrible HP that requires a lot of investment or something. It's kind of like Tangrowth. It kind of requires a lot of investment in special defense if it wants to be really, really effective, but it doesn't always have to rely on that, honestly, if it wants to be good. It can be effective even as an offensive attacker as well. In fact, this is one of the mons that can run Trick Room for a lot of my mons, for given that they're slow almost by nature, because Gardevoir with 80 base speed is going to be really, really lacking against mons that are typically faster, as well as Garchomp if there's a lot of 105 base speed or 110 base speed mons out there, like Latias or Gengars and whatnot. So yeah, and Cofagrigus can, I think Cofagrigus can also knock off, and it can also Will-O-Wisp, it can also use Hex and all that good stuff. Like, it has a lot of coverage, and it has the Mummy ability, which means it can disable some abilities if they happen to come in contact with Cofagrigus, which is really, really useful. It's a really tricky Pokemon to actually get around, honestly, which is what I like about it. And I used it pretty effectively in the DBL, honestly, so why not try it in this league, honestly? Or let me be honest with you, I think the competition is actually going to be really, really fierce in this league. I don't know anybody in this league, but I feel like a lot of the people here are very, very competitive, honestly. I can't help but feel that that's the vibe I get, so I could use some of the more trickier mons, honestly, here. But yeah, Clefairy I think it's really decent. It has various sets as well. It's very versatile is what I wanted to say. So yeah, but I think a lot of the mons that I picked so far have had that versatility so far. But this is just one of the ones that happens to be more like bulky as well. Because right now I'm like, it kind of feels like I'm lacking in bulk. But I could be wrong, I don't know. Either way, round 8, my round 8 pick is actually going to be Brave Yari. Now Brave Yari is a mon that I've drafted several times in various leagues, but it actually almost never comes out just because, I don't know, I almost never feel the need to use it, honestly. I think the only time I ever used Brave Yari was when I actually got it as a transaction in the Nacho Gold Digger League for Season 2. I actually used it in the final weeks of the NGDL for Season 2. That I actually, and it actually put in some good work. But in other leagues like ICBA, DBL, what other leagues? I think Valhalla League as well, I could be wrong. Or was it PGL? Actually, yeah, it was in PGL as well where I drafted it. And I actually never used it. In fact, in PGL, I actually drafted it, or actually traded it. Like I traded it off with a for a Turtonator. Like I dropped Brave Yari because I was never using it, and I got Turtonator instead. But I didn't use Turtonator either, so it was just like, it was kind of useless, honestly. Like I never had to use Brave Yari. That's the thing. But I feel like for this league, given how competitive it can be, I feel like Brave Yari can be useful because a lot of people are gonna try to abuse abilities like Intimidate and whatnot. And there are a lot of Intimidate mons in the league. Obviously, there's like Landers, there's freaking, well, Arcanine's one of them. There's Salamence. There's a lot of Intimidate users that I'm actually afraid of, honestly. And I feel like the opponents here are going to actually use it quite effectively. So if I can take advantage of Brave Yari's Define ability, it can be really good. But it's not only for Define that I'm relying Brave Yari on either, honestly. It's relatively powerful. It can set up, and it can defog, and it can also pivot as well, which is actually really useful. And I think that's something I actually still don't even have on this team, actually, a pivoting mon, which is actually really important, because if not, I cannot get momentum. I will have to keep like switching around, and I feel like that's really hard to make, honestly. So yeah, Brave Yari does have some good stuff under its belt, honestly. I just need to now see if I can actually make it work this time, because or if I can find the opportunity to actually, you know, bring it out, because I almost never do, honestly, given history, obviously. But anyways, round 9. My round 9 pick is going to be Lantern. Now this is a mon I definitely have never used, and this is actually my tier 5 mon. The reason why I got Lantern was because I wanted a Volt Switch immunity, which I kind of don't have at the moment. I don't really have a Volt Switch immunity, and this thing definitely fits the bill. It also has water type immunity if I really need it, like so to prevent people from just Scald spamming me or something. It's also one of those resistances to the ice typing as well, which is really good, because Garchomp is actually weak to it, and so is Tangrowth, and so is Mega Aerodactyl. Like I have a lot of weaknesses to the ice type. Oh yeah, and Brave Yari is no exception. Brave Yari is also weak to ice type. Like so many ice type weaknesses. I needed some resistances. Arcanine fits the bill, Lucario fits the bill, and so does Lantern. Especially Lantern, because given that most ice type moves can sometimes come from water types as well, which mons like Arcanine would not appreciate, and maybe even Lucario, honestly. So yeah, Lantern is also really good. It's an electric type that can run Volt Switch as well, which means this thing can also pivot, and this could be my slow pivoter if anything. It can run Toxic, can be a Cleric, and run Heal Bell if I wanted to. And I think it can also take up any electrical hit, which is, I think I already said that, honestly. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's the only reason I even drafted Lantern. But I've never used this mon either, honestly, so it would be nice to see how I fare with it, honestly. It's not the bulkiest of mon, but it does have some decent HP that I almost never have to invest in HP, and I can actually just focus on the defenses and whatnot. So that's actually something to look forward to. But yeah, that's round 9. Round 10, I'm gonna... Okay, now this pick is actually particularly interesting. The reason why I picked this mon is just because I don't want to be a slave to freaking Hyper Voice users or freaking any boom bursting shenanigans. So I picked Bouffalant because Bouffalant has this very cool ability in Soundproof, which can block any sound-based moves like Hyper Voice or Boom Burst. And in return, this thing can hit a lot of mons really hard. I'll admit though that I actually wanted to pick Exploud, but Exploud got picked before I got to pick it, obviously, so I had to opt for Bouffalant, which kind of does the same thing. The only reason why I wanted Exploud though was because I wanted more special attackers, since I already have some good physical attackers already. But since I couldn't, I just decided to go for Bouffalant, just because Bouffalant also hits relatively hard. And I think this mon, while it doesn't have a lot of coverage, I think with what it has, it can get the job done, and it can also set up, honestly. So if I really want to, this thing can be really threatening. It's slow, which is the biggest downside, but it's also fairly bulky as well, so it can actually hit hard while also being bulky. This is one of those mons that actually relies on its offensive power and bulk more so than its speed, honestly, which I guess is a fair trade-off, honestly. But yeah, that's why I got Bouffalant. This is a mon I've also never used in draft format, honestly. Wasn't really too crazy about it at all either, honestly, but I think this is the time for me to actually use it. So yeah, but anyways, so now last pick here is actually going to be Sableye. Okay, now this pick I'm actually currently 50-50 on. Like, I actually don't know if I even wanted this mon in the first place, but one thing I certainly know for a fact that I definitely needed was a dark type, and Sableye definitely fits the bill in for me right there, because Sableye, it's a dark type, so it's immune to psychic types, which means no psychic spam. I mean, sure, I have some resistances to the psychic types such as Gardevoir, but I think other than that I don't really have very good immunities to it, because psychic is a really powerful move, honestly, and for people to just be able to use it all willy-nilly is kind of really inconvenient for me, obviously. So I had to go with a mon like Sableye so I can actually, you know, discourage it. And on top of that, the cool thing about Sableye is that it has it has some good utility, because it can actually have Will-O-Wisp for crippling physical attackers. It has recovery, it has taunt, it has knockoff, and it also has the prankster ability, which means it can get priority Will-O-Wisps off, or priority Toxics off, or priority Rain Dance, or Sunny Day, whatever the heck you want, honestly. Something that's not attacking, obviously, but can work to your advantage, obviously. So that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why I picked Sableye. That, and also just the fact that it's a dark type. But there's a part of me that feels like maybe I could have picked something better. But if not, honestly, that could have been worked out as well. I think another reason why is because I think Sableye works better as a physical attacker, even though this thing's role is usually a bulky set usually. But other than that, I think it relies more on the physical side, which is something I kind of already have enough of, honestly. I think the biggest downside of this draft that I currently have right now is that it has a lot of physical attackers more so than special attackers, and what special attackers I do have don't really rely too much on attacking, but more so just taking hits and then slightly attacking. But I don't know, maybe like down the road I might actually make some more transactions or something, I don't know. But this is what I picked so far. I was actually just wanting to get this season started, honestly, because let me be honest with you, I think this draft analysis was actually supposed to go up, like, I think as early as definitely like a week before my birthday, actually. So because I actually wanted to start last week, but I couldn't, because I actually was debating on whether or not I should do a draft analysis, because given that we have the option to, I was wondering if we should or not, or if I should or not. So but then at the very end of the day, somebody actually just gave me a very nice looking layout here for the draft analysis, and I figured, okay, fine, we'll do it then. And here we are, and these are the picks that I made, and all I can do now is just hope for you know, for what's it called, to do well, obviously. I don't think I will do well here though, just because the competition in this league is pretty real. I feel like I feel everybody that I've talked to in this league, like, they give me a lot of competitive vibes. I don't know why, honestly, but this is like the first time I think this has ever happened, honestly. Actually, that's not true. The ICBA also gave me similar vibes. Like, I got that huge competitive feel from the people, obviously, and this league is actually no different. This feels like another ICBA, actually, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I don't know how I'm gonna do, honestly. I might actually not do well. I might actually get blown back in week 1, honestly. I don't know. I'm hoping not, though, because even though this team does have a lot of weaknesses, I think if people have seen me battle in various battles, whether it be in Smogon or in draft format, and usually with terrible drafts or terrible teams, and you see how I sometimes pull out victories, you know, somehow. So I'm hoping that we can actually do that here. But anyways, with all that said, in order to stop wasting time, thank you all for watching this draft analysis. I don't know how I did. As always, I feel like I messed up on something, and maybe I did, honestly, but you know what? I don't know. What can I tell you? I don't know how to do the things sometimes. But either way, stay tuned for the battles. I'm gonna try to get week 1 up as soon as possible, because hell, it might actually be tomorrow, honestly. But yeah. So oh yeah, this is why. Cause I actually joined this league for a very special reason. You're gonna find out as soon as you see week 1. So stay tuned for that. And once again, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys for the battles now. But for now, just take it easy and have a good one.